No matter how you look at it, improving without feedback is way harder than improving with it. Feedback helps you set clear goals and makes it easier to understand what others expect of you. Moreover, it further connects you with the community you're creating for, which ultimately leads to healthier work. In this video, we'll discuss what feedback is, how to give and reflect on it, and how this advice can be applied in the context of Geometry Dash. Before we move on with the lesson, let's establish some terms. Feedback is when a person asks for opinions about their product in order to refine it. Reflection is a process of using feedback to your advantage. With that said, let's get on with the lesson. Providing useful feedback is no easy task. For that reason, we've compiled a list of guidelines you should follow when commenting on a creator's work. Be polite, try not to be aggressive, and mind your phrasing. Remember, you're supposed to be criticizing the level and not its creator. Saying something like, "I'm not a fan of all this spam," is much better than saying, "I'm not a fan of how you made the level so spammy," because the latter is far more personal. Don't be rough and say too much at once. While being honest is usually the best policy you should follow, at the same time, you shouldn't overwhelm the person that asks for help. Dumping excessive amounts of criticism will probably demotivate them instead of helping them. Instead, try to focus on one major issue at a time. When giving positive feedback, try to be as specific as possible so that the creator knows what they've actually done well. For instance, saying that the ship part was cool, looking at you, RobTop, isn't really helpful, since you provide little to no detail on why that part was actually cool. However, saying something like, "I like the use of color and texture in the ship part," is much better. Make sure to give feedback depending on the context of the level and what the creator asks for. For example, make sure that your feedback is tailored to the level's style and try to interpret the level as the creator wants. Furthermore, you should also give feedback specifically on what they asked for. For instance, if they ask about their block designs, don't complain about there being no background. Keep your feedback as objective and constructive as possible, and explain your reasoning. Randomly pointing out problems won't help most people understand how to fix them. Providing a solution too would benefit everyone. To give an example, saying, "I don't like the green in the background" is much less helpful than saying, "The green in the background doesn't really go well with the rest of the level. I recommend a purplish blue." We've now gone through all the guidelines when it comes to giving feedback, but what about receiving feedback? Believe it or not, there are also guidelines when it comes to that, so let's get through them. Receiving feedback. Try not to argue with people that give you feedback. After all, they're only trying to help and are not giving demands. Listen to the crowd rather than individuals. You may have one person that dislikes a specific detail that almost everyone else seems to like. Don't get too finicky. To add on to this, be mindful that trying to please everyone can do more harm than good. It is important to keep your target audience in mind, because if you try to please everybody, you may end up pleasing nobody. Implement feedback in a way that aligns with your goals and basic concepts. Try not to keep feedback one-sided. In many cases, explaining your goals for your level leads to more people accepting it and tailoring their advice to it. As a creator, you will probably ask for feedback from fellow creators. This is good since they already know how to operate the editor well and can probably discern what you need and what to suggest. However, don't limit yourself to asking feedback only from creators. For example, if you want feedback on your gameplay, it may be better to ask an experienced player to playtest your level to get a sense of how fun and fair it really is, rather than a creator. Now you may be wondering where you can get feedback. Worry not, however, since there are a lot of places available for you. Most notably, you can get feedback on social media like YouTube, Twitter, and Discord. However, Discord in particular usually offers you the best feedback experience, as there are lots of GD servers and many of them have channels specifically for feedback. And lastly, once you find the place you are going to ask for feedback, knowing what to get feedback on is a very important skill. First of all, you should decide on what you actually want feedback on. Do you want feedback on the gameplay? Ask for that then. Do you want feedback on the design? Go ahead. Next, you should collect and filter responses. You don't need to accept all feedback and neither deny it all. As we've established, feedback is essential for improvement. A cycle of giving and receiving feedback is important because you won't impress everyone if you don't know their interests. Remember to keep the feedback you give and receive constructive and focus on details. Ask different people for feedback on different things so that you can vary your sources of suggestions. You can find these people in many places, most notably GD Discord servers like the GDCS. The Geometry Dash Creator School is a server dedicated to helping creators improve. In this server, you can contact experienced creators and players to get their input on your creations. So if this lesson helped you out and you would like to support us, join us at discord.gg/gdcs. And don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed this lesson.